In this forest center, we have been practicing Satipatthana since the 15th of last month. So today will complete 4 weeks, only 1 day short of 4 weeks. Tomorrow we'll be completing 4 weeks since we started this retreat. So by this time, yogi would have been well grounded in their practice, for the practice of Satipatthana, avoiding what is known as akusala rasi, the unskillful heap, the pile or heap of unwholesomeness, and acquiring kusala rasi, skillful heap or skillful pile of skillfulness, or Satipatthana practice. By uplifting one's life every second of the practice with the continuous mindfulness of every arising, so that you are free from the pull of defilements, and you should rejoice whenever you reflect upon your life being extraordinarily uplifted in this way. Though most people cannot abstain from akusala rasi, in fact they are piling up this unwholesome heap, unskillful heap, avoiding kusala wholesome heap. We are piling up wholesome heap, kusala rasi, and avoiding unwholesome heap every time of the practice. In this way, we are upgrading our existence. So, in place of akusala rasi, unskillful heap, we are piling up kusala rasi in a very stable, strong way and in an unshakable manner, and we make adhitthana, make a resolution in this way. Within this 4 weeks, we are only 1 day short of 4 weeks, and we should be inspired and glad whenever we reflect upon this situation. As for Sayadaw, he said he is very much satisfied with the yogis practicing for 4 weeks, abstaining or avoiding this akusala rasi and piling up this kusala rasi every day of the practice. So today we would like to discuss with you the subject of these two things, akusala rasi and kusala rasi, theoretically and practically, for your inspiration and in accordance with the exposition of the Buddha. The subject of sensual pleasures, how our life is occupied full time with the sensual pleasures, enjoying pleasures of senses, such as seeing agreeable things, wishing to see agreeable things, desiring to hear agreeable sounds, and so on. So most of the time we spend our life in these pleasures of senses. And indulging in these kamadana, craving for pleasures of senses, such as desiring to see pleasurable things and so on, and even enjoying this pleasurable touch, even enjoying the touch with soft, gentle clothing, and having good touch contact with the cool air when it's hot, or warm air when it's cold, and even enjoying the touch among human beings, especially with opposite sex. So mostly we are occupied with these pleasures of senses. They are hindrances, they are obstacles to pure states of mind. Because of these impurities, these pure states of mind are become an obstacle, hindrances, they cannot enter our stream of consciousness. And hence this is known as kamacchanda nivarana, hindrance or obstacle by way of pleasures of senses. Since most of the time we spend our life in agreeable things, we have this sense desires. At other times, when we meet with disagreeable objects, we have aversion, disgust, disappointment, and in this case we are subject to Theravada, nivarana, hindrance of ill will. And especially on a full-time basis is what we are occupied with is not wishing to exert energy to do wholesome, skillful deeds like this high-level discipline of the way of mindfulness. Not wishing to exert energy, being slack and laid back. And even if we exert energy in the beginning, very soon we get exhausted. So we are slack and laxed in the practice of high-level disciplines. And since we leave our mind uncontrolled, unrestrained, we feel remorse about things, good things not done or bad things done. We feel restless, distracted. And with the being imagining and thoughts and fantasies, sometimes we are becoming doubtful of the things we are thinking about. And in this way we are occupied all the time with such unskillful deeds, hindrances to progress. So there are very only few people in this world who detest, who shun away from such hindrances. Who are most of the time, most people are subject to these hindrances of progress. They fail to move away from skillful deeds. So being occupied in this way, in these hindrances of progress, beginning with sense desire hindrances, our mind becomes impure, vulgar, gross, and in this way, being occupied in this way, in these unskillful deeds, you can just imagine how much unskillful heap we are piling up. Just imagine in 1 minute, at the rate of 1 second per desire, when it comes to the sense desire, we are piling up 60 kinds of movements of desire, or 60 layers of desires. In 5 minutes, 300, and in 1 hour, 3,600 moments of layers of desires we're piling up. Just imagine when in 1 day of 24 hours, how much, how high and how voluminous the wholesome heap we are piling up. Most of the time, except when we are fast asleep. So we are bound to meet with desirable and undesirable objects, agreeable and disagreeable objects. Just imagine how many times do we encounter such things in our life. So daily we are encountering these hindrances, except the time when we are fast asleep. So just look at your own life. Try to analyze your own life in this way. If you are subject to these hindrances, subject to these unskillful deeds, how pure or impure will your thought, word and deeds will be? How gentle will they be, or how gross will they be? How affable will they be, or how despicable and undesirable they will be? So you can ask yourself, if you ask yourself sincerely and honestly, and not in a lenient way, because you may be lenient towards yourself. But if you are straightforward and be honest, if you ask yourself, you are bound to get the answer, the correct answer, without any illusion. Don't delude yourself. Be honest, and you will find out the answer by yourself. So, in this way, we spend our life all the time with these hindrances which undermine our practice, which undermine our skillful deeds, and weaken the knowledge if ever we cultivate knowledge. And we are degrading or degenerating ourselves. How sad it is. You can find out if you just reflect upon yourself. These things what we have already discussed, the hindrances to progress. If only we can measure them, how much voluminous, how big will this pile or heap be if we just calculate, for the sake of calculation, 1 inch per day. In 1 month, there will be 30 inches high. And of course, depending on the breadth, it will be quite voluminous. And in 1 year, just imagine how voluminous, how thick, how massive this heap is going to be. So this is known as akusala rasi, big heap of unskillfulness. For those who leave their mind unrestrained, instead living in a natural way, that is, leave it as it is, giving full freedom. You can just imagine how big will this akusala rasi be. And such people will be, you can imagine that such people are living on this akusala, sitting on this akusala rasi all the time, and without coming down, enjoying this akusala rasi, taking it as their mansion or palace all the time. When they cultivate pure mind, it's only very, very short and insignificant, as insignificant as a flash of lightning in the darkness of the no moon night. The rest of the time is dark with akusala rasi. So just imagine how dark and how dark would this akusala rasi be, and how high and how voluminous this heap would be. Most beings are not aware of their situation. That is, they're sitting on this akusala rasi all the time, and then they are suffering, but they don't realize that they are suffering. They think it's pleasure, and this suffering, they suffer. They are enduring big problems, meeting big problems, but they don't realize that they are experiencing big problems. They think they are enjoying pleasures. So they also do not look for methods to jump off this heap of unskillfulness. And though they find some, luckily, they just practice, or they may do only for a short while, just very insignificant way, but the rest of the time is spent on sitting on this akusala rasi. So because they do not know the method, or even if they know the method, they don't take up this practice seriously. They spend their life in this way, and they spend the whole life and whole samsara, the endless round of existence, by just sitting on this akusala rasi. Hence the Buddha has distinguished between these two things, akusala rasi and kusala rasi, and how to jump off this akusala rasi. the Buddha has given the full method, sure method of jumping off this akusala rasi. So yogis are now seen practicing to jump off this akusala rasi, and they should be delighted. Now this jumping off this akusala rasi. Now, of course, it is not possible to jump off the akusala rasi which you have been sitting on in the past, for the past time, and also the future has not come yet. The past is only a memory, and the future is only speculation. You cannot just jump off in advance because there is no akusala rasi as yet. As for the present akusala rasi, also you cannot jump off because you are already sitting on it. The only possibility is to avoid the akusala rasi. Whenever you see when akusala rasi is in sight, you just avoid it with the practice of mindfulness, so that this akusala rasi will not happen and you will not be sitting on it. Because the past is gone, it is a memory, and the future is only a speculation, it has not yet come. So, only to practice mindfulness, to be free from these akusala rasi nivaranas, which have the chance of coming into your stream of consciousness, and try to prevent this akusala rasi from forming, and also try to move it away farther and farther, distancing it until you are totally free. Even if you are not totally free, to be free from the gross forms of akusala rasi. As has been discussed yesterday, in the practice of the meditation or in the high-level discipline of the practice of meditation, bhavana, this sluggishness is a great, huge obstacle to progress. This is the most dangerous obstacle the yogis encounter first and foremost. If one is overcome by this unskillful mental state, then one will not wish to undertake in the beginning, first and foremost, this high-level discipline of this bhavana, mind development practice. And even if one begins to practice, undertakes, one will not do it intensively, seriously. One will not be able to strive as one should be. So that one will not have any chance by any means to cultivate unique concentration and insight. Therefore the Buddha has said this, given this word, has discussed yesterday, Paṇḍitā, to be energetic and not to be indolent. And just this one thing is quite reliable and worthy. And then having regard for one's body, not wishing to endure pain, and want to be comfortable, and being afraid of body or physical pain, and getting disease as a result of the practice, and also afraid of dying because of this practice. If one has regard for this one's body and life, then one's mind is said to be inclined or tilted on one side. That means tilting on the side of slackness, not wishing to take risks. This is a kind of slackness, not wishing to exert energy. So the Buddha has given this akusala rasi and kusala rasi in two ways. That if one has to talk about this akusala rasi, unwholesome heap, then one has This Pancha Nivana, 5 hindrances, they make up this akusala rasi. They're merely the just akusala rasi, and there's no skillfulness, no kusala. It is quite correct, because these 5 hindrances, obstacles to progress, are happening one by one in turn. At times these sense desire hindrances arise, and at other times ill will may arise about disagreeable objects, and at times there's slackness and exhaustion of energy, and at times there's restlessness and worry or remorse, and other times having skeptical doubt. In this way, all these 5 things are happening one by one in turn. So in 1 minute, if it happens like this, there will be no skillfulness at all. All impurities, all the defilements will be arising in one stream of consciousness. So most of the time, without skillfulness, there will be only unskillfulness, akusala rasi. Hence the expression yadidam pancha nivaranam. They are none other than these 5 hindrances. Let us put it down to practice. Let us say, in sitting meditation, paying attention to the abdomen, watching this rising and falling every time it rises and falls. And this try to connect your naughty mind with the object as it arises energetically, precisely, then you will not miss this rising phenomenon. Because the mindfulness because your mindfulness connects, your naughty mind connects the object as though it sinks into the object, penetrates the object, and not to lose sight of this object, so that it will become manifested in your mind, that your naughty mind become face to face with the object of attention. And just imagine at this moment, what will be the condition of your consciousness which is associated with this naughty mind. In 1 second, your consciousness will be free from these obstacles. There's no obstacle of the desire of senses. To be free from that, there will be no obstacle of aversion, ill will. You'll be free from that. And because you are applying ardent energy and then proper precision targeting, there's no such thing as sloth and torpor. There's no such thing as slackness, laxity. There's no such thing as exhaustion of energy. With the sustained mindfulness, your concentration deepens, so that there will be no distraction of the mind. The naughty mind is not separated from the object of attention. The naughty mind is not flown away or removed from the object of attention, so that there will be no remorse, no restlessness. And then initially you have this strong acceptance of the practice, of the benefit of the practice. There will be no doubt about it. You'll be clear of doubts. Hence there will be no more obstacles. Because every second of the time, your mind is protected by mindfulness sati, so that it will not allow any impurity from entering its stream of consciousness, so that there will be only kusala rasi, pile or heap of skillfulness. Every time, whenever you sustain mindfulness and try to connect this rising and falling, every time this phenomena takes place, there will be no impurities. Only your mind will be pure. And this is not just one moment or one time, 1 split second. It will be continuous. so long as you are able to sustain your mindfulness. In 1 minute, there are 60 seconds, so there will be 60 moments of mindfulness arising, mindful and full awareness. So in this way, if you just calculate in terms of minutes and hours, how much kusala rasi you are piling up, which is quite obvious. And it will not be adulterated or mixed with obstacles such as sense pleasures, sense desires, and so on. It will be just pure kusala rasi. How wonderful. In this way, every time you cultivate this mindfulness, there will be no chance of this akusala rasi, obstacles to arise in your stream of consciousness, because your mind is protected by sati. Therefore it is pure, no obstacles. Then there will be only kusala, skillfulness. Kusala has the connotation of anavija, meaning blameless. If it's blameless, it will be pure. If it's pure, it will be gentle, cultured, and becomes affable. This is wholesomeness. Your life is said to be uplifted with just one moment of mindfulness. Your nirvanas fall away, your akusala rasi fall away, you'll be only uplifted, upgraded. There's no need to worry about the past hindrances, past obstacles. The past is gone. They are all only memories. And the future has not yet come. They are speculations. And you need not worry about trying to avoid or protect these future obstacles. All you need is to practice mindfulness, to be free from the obstacles which can arise if you are not mindful. If you are not mindful, the obstacles have the chance of coming into your stream of consciousness and making up this akusala rasi. But because you are mindful, there's no chance of unskillfulness to arise in your stream of consciousness. Hence, there's no chance of this akusala rasi to pile up. So in place of akusala rasi, there will be only kusala rasi. Only good kusala rasi heap will be piling up. This is accumulating ujja, not just one time, but always, all the time, without care, without any intermission or recession or recess. If one accumulates good things, it is bound to be good. If you accumulate blameless things, this is cause for goodness in the future. It will bring about good results. Just like you're saving money, you earn money by working. Suppose you consume, you spend some money for your consumption, and the rest you save in the bank or whatever, or under your pillow. So whatever you have accumulated in a justified way, you can accumulate, you can save for future use. So as you accumulate, as you save, this wealth is bound to pile up, which is good for future use, for future purpose. Immediately also, in the present also, it is good. And also it is good in the future. So it is like accumulating wealth. By just saving and accumulating, collecting, little by little, it will fill up the big pot. Just like saving water, drop by drop, it will fill up the big pot. And then by building up, you get pure things. Building up this, accumulating this mindfulness. The mind becomes calm, collected. As the mind becomes calm and collected, one is bound to gain insight, the liberating insight. cause for liberation in the future, cause for blissful peace in the future. So, by activating mindfulness of every arising in the body, physical objects, by being mindful of every sensations you are accumulating, these mindfulness, noting strength, power of mindfulness, abstaining from obstacles, nivaranas, overcoming them. You are noting every thought and idea, everything which arises in your mind. You are noting every general object, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. So in this way you are said to be accumulating without any gap, connecting without any disconnection, so that the noting mind is continuous, the preceding noting mind is continuous with the succeeding ones. In this way they are continuous, there's a continuous flow like a current. In this way you are accumulating, you are saving, which is good for the present and good for the future, and good for this future benefit in the form of secure, blissful peace. So the Buddha has also given this the significance of just one moment of mindfulness. You all probably know already, and those who cherish and appreciate the value of this mindfulness will practice respectfully and seriously, and not to belittle, not to think little of this one moment of loss of mindfulness, that just missing one object will not be significant, will not affect anything, not to think little of that, not to belittle in this way. Like the raindrops, if the raindrops are allowed to collect in a pot, then gradually the pot is bound to be filled with these raindrops. So this is the example that Buddha has given. This is only for the wise people. Only the wise who appreciate the practice, who cherish the practice, will accumulate little by little, appreciating, valuing this mindfulness, even how insignificant it will be. One appreciates that by connecting and being able to connect without being able to connect the object precisely, whatever arises, with sustained mindfulness. And if there's another object arises also, one will try to connect one's noting mind with the new object, ever arising object. In this way, the wise accumulates these power of noting mind, so that one is piling up this noting mind in a very strong manner. This is what the Buddha has said. And this is only for the wise people. As for those who are not wise, who cannot appreciate or cherish the practice, they may be just casual about the practice without being serious. And it's only those who appreciate will be able to accumulate these mindfulness, so that it becomes a heap, a good heap of sati. At one moment of this mindfulness, there are these associated mental states which accompany this mental state of sati unavoidably, and this is how they are associated. Now when one tries to connect one's noting mind with the object, there has to be this proper targeting, precisely, or aiming at the obvious object as it arises. Then, if it's concurrent, there will be no slipping off, There will be no overshooting, no superficial mindfulness. No, the mind will not be superficial on the object of attention. If it's not concurrent, if it's not properly connected, it will be disconnected, it will be overshooting or slipping off, so that one will be inviting these obstacles, such as the obstacles of sense desires, kamachanda, nivaranas. At other times there will be the obstacle of vyavara, nivarana, the obstacle, hindrance of ill will. And then as the mind is concurrent with precise targeting, these obstacles, hindrances have no chance of entering and attacking one's stream of consciousness. By aiming precisely, one avoids these hindrances. These hindrances are fallen away. And with the application of energy, because you are doing energetically, for driving force, in order to direct your noting mind to the object of observation, so there will be no slackness, no laxity, not wishing to exert energy or getting exhausted, no sloth and torpor, because of the energetic practice. Because of energy, there will be no slackness. Therefore, the energy has taken the place of slackness. With the energy, slackness falls away. It is avoided. And with activated mindfulness, the mind is protected so that these obstacles have no chance of arising, entering the stream of consciousness. In this way also, all these hindrances or obstacles will fall away. They are said to be replaced. So in this way, when the obstacles fall away, when one's mind is free of these obstacles, then the mind is skillful, wholesome. If it's wholesome, it will be blameless. If it's blameless, it will be pure, gentle, and affable. Every second of the practice. The next second also, you are mindful, and so on. In this way, if you are doing continuously, you will be accumulating all these effective mindfulness. This is the practical aspect. Initially, with full acceptance, leading to strong desire to undertake the practice, strong desire to accumulate these skillful deeds, will try to connect precisely with the object using this driving force energy in order to activate mindfulness so as to deepen the levels of concentration, opening to insight in stages. When one gains one's own insight, then one will come to conclusion that this method is correct, and this is the method to realize the true nature of realities. One will become satisfied with one's own practice. This will lead to more acceptance and more desire to undertake the practice. And one will be demanding oneself, by oneself, to undertake the practice, to do more and more practice. Because there will be more of this precise connection and the driving force leading to more stronger mindfulness. In this way, these things, wholesome mental states, will arise by stages. In this way, this is accumulating kusala rasi. Hence, the Buddha said, if one has to talk about this, one has to describe kusala rasi, and one has to describe correctly, then one has to mention the four foundations of mindfulness, Cattara Satipatthana. So, this Buddha has concluded that this is the totally pure kusala rasi. skillful heap, free of impurities, and this is none other than the four foundations of mindfulness. And the Buddha has pointed out exactly in this way. So all the yogis are able to practice mindfulness in a very extraordinary manner, very intensively, but of course it's not possible to measure to what extent they have accumulated this kusala rasi and to what extent they have removed akusala rasi. Now, as for the yogis, as much as they activate their mindfulness, they are bound to deepen their concentration and activate or cultivate insight. And of course, they cannot measure this. They practice mindfulness until they are able to reach the state of cessation of arising and passing away with the realization of the liberating insight. Then, of course, they can make a decision that, they have accumulated this kusala rasi and remove this akusala rasi, or accumulated kusala rasi in place of akusala rasi. It's just like the carpenter with using its hammer or axe. He or she is using this tool every time, every day, to hammer this nail in the carpentry in the buildings, and they are rubbing. He or she is rubbing this handle. It is made of wood, but he or she cannot measure how much he or she has rubbed off. But after a long time, he or she can find out with this mark of the hand that how much he or she has rubbed off after a long time. So too, the yogis will be able to measure how much, to what extent they have accumulated this kusala rasi only when they realize, they come to the last stage of the realization of the cessation of arising and passing away. Then they know that they have accumulated this kusala rasi in place of akusala rasi. They will be able to make a clear-cut decision. As for now, they can continue to practice mindfulness like the carpenter using its hammer and not knowing how much he or she has rubbed off this handle. And if one is not mindful, there will be akusala rasi. If one is mindful, then this akusala rasi is bound to slowly diminish, and one cannot measure, of course. But one can measure the kusala rasi at the last moment. So we have to strive to reach that stage. So tomorrow it will be 4 weeks that we have been conducting this retreat, practicing, yogis have been practicing in this center, and they are accumulating this kusala rasi in the form of satipatthana bhavana. And as much as they have done their best in the past, they are exhorted to practice more and more intensively, more continuously in the coming weeks. Activate mindfulness, accumulate this power of mindfulness, and in this way pile up this kusala rasi in place of akusala rasi. That's all for today.